Shiva, number 4.
That's roughly. We might be able to work in.
Rondo.
What's the number? Is that?
5.
Oh, book my lodge for the Blue Ridge. I got a lodge.
Really?
Hot tub.
Nice. They're not hosting you?
Nice.
I don't want to host.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh that's
right, I
right.
hear
You
ya.
had issues last time.
I'm just driving back. On the next page there. What do you think about that? Is that too slow? The next page is
Yeah,
number
he's
6. Is that too raw and energy? No?
too churchy.
Too churchy?
I don't know.
What about the
We could go to the 12 and 13.
we've got sure. Oh, or there's the yeah, sure. Then we get that little slow and then we can take off. Sounds good. And still say 15 for
Got a big
afterwards.
nose across the ears.
So this is 12, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
doing on time?
6 minutes. 6 minutes. Hallelujah.
Sure.
Sounds good. It's a two-pager.
Huh?
It's a two-pager.
Do a little bit of joy.
Sure. No.
Sleeping Beauty.
I'm fine. Te Deum is fine.
Today.
Today is that
First and the
Number
third
four.
book. Yeah.
okay?
It should be enough.
Are those doors opened up?
That one close. still people coming
Just
in.
gonna hang tight. Well, are they? It's 8:29.
Hmm?
It's 8:29. I told her we'd stop.
Okay.
Now we turn to Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me know when you see any activity.
Well, the doors are still open.
Well, the doors are already open. I suppose they're going to close them and then open.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an ear that's going to open. I heard Tim Kaine's supposed to be here. Senator from Virginia.
Yeah.
Well, she imposing it. I told her I'd stop.
Trumpet tune or voluntary? I don't know.
Trumpet tune.
What's that?
Just do trumpet tune. Oh,
Trumpet. Is that in the first one?
very first one. Yeah.
I wonder how close they are. That's a short
That's
one.
a short one enough.
They don't seem to be lining up or anything.
Yeah.
You may be seated. Good morning, and welcome to all our guests who have joined us for this historic event in this beautiful, historic venue. Welcome to the first commencement ceremony of the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine, celebrating the graduation of our charter class, the class of 2014. Welcome, Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine Board of Directors, faculty, staff, administration, and students, friends and families of our students, and every other special guest here today, because every one of you is special. Every person here has been invited because you have contributed something to make this day possible. Perhaps you were involved with the initial discussions between Virginia Tech and Carilion as these two prestigious organizations and their leaders came together as a public-private partnership to create our school. Or maybe your influence prompted the Virginia General Assembly to support the legislation to fund our $59 million building, which is the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine and Research Institute. Our co-located medical school and research institute, each flourishing with the success of the other and distinguishing us among all other new medical schools. You might even have contributed to the design, construction, or outfitting of our beautiful, purpose-built edifice. Many of you are faculty, other healthcare professionals, and our patients, all of whom have contributed to the education of our students. Because of you, these students, soon to be medical residents, are prepared for the next step in their journey and are on track to be the kind of physician you would choose for yourself or your family, the kind you will want to call my doctor. You might be residents of our wonderful, welcoming Roanoke community. Whether you have interacted with us within the walls of our school or we with you in the activities of your daily lives, we are your medical school. And finally, the largest group in attendance today, the guests of our graduates. Each of you has affected the life of one of these students in a way that has resulted in their presence on this stage today. So students, before we continue with our program, I would ask you to stand and join me in thanking everyone here who has made this day possible for you. Thank you. You may be seated. Now, to begin our formal program, I am pleased to introduce Ben Davenport, who is currently chair of the board of directors of our school. He has been a strong advocate and lifelong supporter of Virginia Tech and this region of the Commonwealth. This is a special year for Ben. This is his golden anniversary of graduation from Virginia Tech in 1964 with a bachelor's degree in business administration. He has a long history of engagement in the university community, including membership on the Virginia Tech Board of Visitors for 2 terms, including 2 years as rector, and additional service on the Virginia Tech Foundation Board. In spring 2013, he received the Alumni Distinguished Service Award in recognition of his outstanding service to the university and the Alumni Association. In the corporate world, Ben is chairman of First Piedmont Corporation, a regional waste management company, as well as Davenport Energy, a supplier of petroleum products in Southern Virginia. He was a founding member of the Mid-Atlantic Broadband Communities, which has built a 1,500-mile network of fiber connecting 26 counties and cities in Southern Virginia. Welcome, Mr. Davenport.
Thank you, Dean. I appreciate very much the warm welcome to this momentous occasion. There have been so many changes in Southwest Virginia since I graduated from Virginia Tech, and today marks yet another chapter in the evolution. Now, as an academic medical center formed as a public-private partnership between two great institutions, Virginia Tech and Carilion Clinic. As chair of the board of directors, I speak for each of them when I share that it is our honor and privilege to look out at you today as we confer the first degrees from the school. Will the representatives of the founding and current board members present today please stand and be recognized for your efforts on behalf of the faculty, staff, students, and patients that they care for? If the founding board members would stand, and those that currently are. Over the last 5 years, Virginia Tech representatives have been President Charles Steger, Mike Quillen, the rector, George Nolan, the immediate past rector, Dr. Mark McNamee, the founding chair, Dr. Gerhard Schroeg, and from Carilion Clinic, representatives have been Nancy Agee, Warner Dalhouse, Dr. Mark Werner, Jay Turner, and Dr. Ralph Watley. And independent members have been Jim Smith, who is the immediate past chairman, Dr. Sid Smith, the vice chairman, Dr. Ed Murphy, Carmen Hooker Odom, Nick Conte, and Dr. Bert Spetzler. Again, thank you for your dedication, vision, leadership, and guidance. This truly is a milestone day for all of us. Thank you.
Every graduating class from every school is special, but a medical school's charter class is truly distinctive. Matriculating and succeeding at a new school demands bright, entrepreneurial students, confident self-starters. These students had no upperclassmen to guide them, and we, the faculty and administrators, needed their student perspective and active participation to develop and refine our cutting-edge curriculum that would make VTCSOM a premier medical school for the 21st century. You are going to get a glimpse into the character of the class of 2014 from our student speakers. These students have selected 2 members of their class to address you this morning. Mr. Israel Katz will speak first, followed by Mr. Matthew Joy.
Thank you, Dean Johnson. And thank you all for joining us on this very, very early morning. I'm very honored to be up here in front of the first graduating class of VTCSOM. And before I give my speech, I just wanted to share a quick story I thought about last night, seeing all these cars kind of pull up into the Hotel Roanoke. I grew up in the Northeast, and when I got my interview invitation, I started organizing some travel plans, so I called up the coordinator, Jesse, at the time, and I looked at the name of the city, and I was just kind of pondering and contemplating for 10 minutes, how the heck do I pronounce this? And I knew that there was a Native American kind of background to this whole area, so I called her up, and I thought I figured it out, and I asked her what was the best way to, travel to Roanoke. Anyway, so she politely corrected me. So again, thank you all for joining us here. And I hope you enjoy these words. So looking over my patient logs and doing some basic math, I realized that over the past 2 years, across 16 different clinical rotations, the number of patients I was personally responsible for totaled to about 630, and somewhere in the 2,000 to 3,000, including those I peripherally followed as part of a team. In the grand scheme of things, these numbers are of course minuscule compared to what lies ahead in residency, and even smaller compared to what we'll see throughout our entire careers as physicians, except of course for the radiologists. Numbers aside, however, it only takes one patient to transform the dizzying array of labs, vitals, and progress notes that dictate our day-to-day into the reality that in our hands lies a fellow human's well-being. For me, that patient was our classmate on the day after her first surgery, as our internal medicine team casually rounded on her neighbors in the ICU. In the room to our left was our patient with liver failure. On the right was another with a bleeding ulcer. But in the room right across from me was a colleague, a friend, a person who for the first time was more than just another patient on our team's to-do list. I'd admit we were not close friends by any stretch. We may have exchanged a few words here and there or discussed interesting cases once in a while, but nothing more. But to see her in a gown, hooked up to an IV, in the room where just last week our patient with pneumonia was housed was a bizarre optical illusion, but it was just disorienting enough to break the monotonous and academic world of patient care I had known up to that point. Now, my classmates would probably agree that I'm not the most sympathetic or indiscriminately nice person. I've never stayed after hours to call my discharge patients at their homes, nor have I ever brought orange slices after a soccer game. Yet, before seeing my friend in the hospital, before having the first patient I was following pass away, or experiencing with my own family the devastation that a gruesome hospital course can lead to, I saw every problem in medicine as purely academic, being either right or wrong. But ultimately, all of us will come across the one patient whose experience will vividly demonstrate that decisions aren't as simple as black or white, but that they spread across a spectrum of colors from horribly dark to surprisingly bright, and will hopefully recognize, despite what we may have seen, that being distant, cold, and calculating isn't actually being stronger, it's being lazier. Seeing everything in two colors is easy, simple, it forgoes creativity. But the core principle of medicine, humans taking care of fellow humans, should always be a challenge founded on original thoughts, evolving and eradicating the boundaries of stagnation. So, why do we come to VTC? Well, for some of us, it was pretty simple. It was literally the only option, right? Others may be intrigued by the thrill of a new program. Yet, regardless of our reason, one thing is for sure. We are all very different from the masses. Today, we'll be graduating from a new medical school in Roanoke, Virginia, no less, from a program with years to grow before making its mark. But because we were here, because nothing we ever did was close to normal, our accomplishment today is monumental. What we've done here in the last 4 years, catalyzing a renaissance of research, building a student clinic, developing a novel and thriving medical curriculum, will drive how this school evolves over the course of its existence. It will always remind us and future students walking these halls to own up, take pride, and welcome any challenge. If something doesn't work, fix it. If inefficiency stands in the way of better patient care, confront it. Don't let the herd mentality of apathy, incompetence, or that black and white perspective ever affect the quality of your work or how you treat your patients. Regardless of how or why we ended up at VTC, we have always unanimously rejected the herd, and will continue improving medicine in years to come by doing just that. A not-so-wise man once said, "I tend to think of myself as a one-man wolf pack." And well, over the last 4 years, our wolf pack grew, and next year, 40 of us wolves will be running around hospitals across the US with our MDs, treating patients and giving orders. Don't forget where you come from, and don't ever forget what you can accomplish when you take pride in your work. Thank you. And now my good friend Matt Joy will address you guys as well. Thank you.
All right. Find my place here. Good morning. Thank you all so much for being here today. At the risk of sounding terribly cliche, I do have to say it really does feel like just yesterday when we all walked up the front steps of VTC, we gathered our color-coded name badges and our orientation folders and greeted each other as classmates for the first time. While the time seems to have slipped by almost unnoticed, it feels very different to be standing here today than it did standing on those steps, posing for our first class photo 4 years ago. It's been an incredible experience, a fact that I credit to everyone sitting here today. It's also been a very unique experience, due in part to us being the first class for sure, but even more so, I believe, due to the focus and value that VTC places on patient-centered learning and patient-centered medical care. So in an attempt, meager as it may be, to bring some of this perspective to this momentous occasion, I thought I would reflect on some of what I thought are the pivotal moments from our time here at VTC that I believe illustrate this emphasis on patient-centered approach to medical education and how that focus has shaped our educational experience and professional development. In August of 2010, we arrived on campus for orientation, bright-eyed, well-dressed, well-groomed, for the most part, and ready to take on whatever was laid before us. We split into our small groups, we dove into our first patient-centered learning case, and valiantly, albeit somewhat naively, attempted to tackle huge topics like headache or seizure disorders in crude and hastily constructed 20-minute presentations, often leaving our team members more confused than informed. In between group sessions, we reviewed school policies, we met the mayor, we enjoyed numerous pizza and box lunches, we got stranded in the desert, we collected our Roanoke and VTC swag, and quickly settled into our unassigned, yet personally assigned, seats throughout the beautifully designed and shiny new building. Our building, I might add. We are only just beginning to appreciate the challenges that laid ahead of us at that time. And then, on Friday, we gathered for our very first case wrap-up session. We met our first patient family, and what we realized was that the true significance of what we had covered that week was much, much greater. For those here who are not aware, our first case was that of a young, aspiring resident physician, well known to the VTC family, who presented with chronic, nagging headaches and was subsequently diagnosed with a rare and aggressive brain tumor that, despite aggressive treatment, ultimately took his life much too soon. Hearing the family's stories and reflecting on their great loss instantly and indelibly left its mark on me, and I believe each and every one of us, about the significance of what we were here training to do. Suddenly, it was very clear that all the anatomy, the physiology, the pathology that we had tried to cram in our heads that week was much less important than the patient, the family, and their experience. This case and the subsequent discussion with the family highlighted the fact that we were being tasked to do much more than just study the essential texts, the most current research, to learn as much as possible about the human body and health and disease and how to treat it. No small tasks, of course, but we were excited to do all of that while putting our patients first, and we were expected to do just that. We had to address their biggest and smallest fears about their disease and do so with the utmost care and compassion. This orientation case was the first and arguably one of the most powerful examples of the value placed on patient-centered care at VTC. It set the tone for many other examples to follow, including the class's adoption of a list of guiding principles on professionalism, which included a commitment to respect and remain grateful to our patients. The first VTC white coat ceremony, where students and faculty reflect on and recite the well-known physician's pledge, the Hippocratic Oath. The willingness of students to organize and hold a memorial ceremony for those that donated their bodies to science for our education in anatomy. And the establishment of student-supported evenings at the local free clinic, just to name a few. Through all these experiences, I believe we have been educated, guided, molded, and most importantly, inspired to be better physicians. Physicians who know and appreciate, as Dr. Francis W. Peabody so famously stated, that the secret of the care of the patient is in caring for the patient. I know that these values instilled in us here will go with us as we begin our residency training across the country. I believe that our patients will be better served as a result, and I hope that others will take notice and appreciate what this approach to medical education and patient care has to offer. Finally, I want to finish by saying thank you all so much for being a part of this experience. Thank you to the faculty and the staff and the administration for your undying support and commitment to our education and these values. To our families and loved ones here today and elsewhere for your support through this often challenging experience. And to my class, the charter class, the inaugural class, the first class, the guinea pigs, maybe the best class,
So far.
the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine, class of 2014. Thank you. Thank you so much. I won't.
Thank you, Israel and Matt. Before Matt introduces our next speaker, I want to present for the first time the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine Dean's Special Recognition. I might point out that Matt did not know about this honor until he looked at the graduation program that was on his chair here on stage. I have designed a plaque uniquely for him. It reads, "As president of the charter class of the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine for all 4 years, and president of student government since its inception, Matt Joy has led the students in becoming the physician thought leaders which define the school. As dean, I have depended on him to represent the students while working collaboratively with the administration to make the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine a premier medical school of the 21st century." Thank you, Matt. That's true, too.
Thank you, Dean Johnson. It is now my pleasure to invite our faculty speaker to the podium. This speaker was selected by the graduating class for this occasion. She's also been an integral part of our medical training and the backbone of VTC's clinical skills curriculum. Our Associate Dean, Clinical Science, Years 1 and 2, Dr. Taryn Schmidt-Dalton.
To the class of 2014, friends and family, there was a time not so long ago when a collaborative vision, a dream, a wish sprang forth between two entities in this valley to develop an innovative new medical school that would graduate physician thought leaders. Energy, time, passion, creativity, and expertise have been poured into the development of this school by administration, faculty, community leaders, and you, the student founding body. Today we come together to celebrate this historic moment, this milestone, our very first graduation, and your many great accomplishments. We also extend our heartfelt wishes for your days ahead. For just as your arrival to VTC School of Medicine brought forth so much anticipation and joy, so does your departure. As we wished so much for your past 4 years, I now extend to you wishes for your upcoming tomorrows. Class of 2014, I wish for your journey to be fueled by an unquenchable thirst for learning, for an intellectual curiosity that motivates each season of your career and spills over to your colleagues and all of your entrusted learners. Such curiosity contributes greatly to skilled hands, medical competency, and future research endeavors. I wish for you to model a collaborative spirit with your interprofessional teams, remembering that all roles in medicine have worth and contribute uniquely in this great field. Receive their feedback graciously. Other teammates will follow your lead. Lead wisely. I wish for you to demonstrate discernment so that your position of leadership influence health care, health policy, your communities, and your relationships in positive ways. I wish that temptation for pride in professional achievements and community status be balanced by a servant's heart and a humble spirit. I wish for you a good friend, for close relationships filled with transparency, laughter, and deep joy, for safe havens and wells that are deep and that renew you along life's ways, for hobbies to balance your profession and opportunities to unwind, for a mentor to guide. Class of 2014, I wish for you a foundation that is rock solid, on which you build your dreams, your values, your relationships, your homes, that you act in the best interest of others when no one is watching. For an unfaltering character flows with integrity and truthfulness. I wish you courage during all those times when you suddenly find yourself so very far out of your comfort zone. And when the days run together and the road feels steep and the journey is so very long, the storm winds come, and they will come. I wish you perseverance. I wish you fortitude, strength of body and soul. I wish for you to value humankind, to maintain an absolute sense of awe for the human body, for life. From birth to grave, we have front row seats to life's very most precious, intimate moments. Pause to appreciate your role as a physician. And for all the privileged times behind closed doors when your patients whisper their fears, when they crumble under the pressures of this life and reveal their stark humanity, I wish for your response to be one of compassion. For gentleness, kindness, and love smooth even the deepest of wounds. So class of 2014, as you report to duty as physicians, in clinics and ERs and ICUs and delivery suites and operating rooms and wards all over this great country, from Rebecca in the northeast corner in Vermont, down to Brad in Georgia, from our Western Ambassador Andrew, all the way out in Washington, to Jared down in Salt Lake City, Utah. I wish so much for you. Intellectual curiosity, collaborative spirit, servanthood and humility, discernment, character and integrity, perseverance and courage, strength of body and soul, compassion, awe. And for all the times you have already demonstrated such qualities during your 4 years with us, in our Carilion homes, in our medical communities, I thank you. I recognize and celebrate your unique roles in this medical school, in this community. Class of 2014, well done. I am so very proud of you.
Thank you, Taryn. It is an honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Senator Tim Kaine. He has served people throughout his life as a missionary, civil rights lawyer, teacher, and elected official. He has been a mayor, governor, and U.S. senator, reflecting the strong trust and respect of his constituents over a career in public service. Senator Kaine grew up in Kansas City. We have that common foundation, and was educated at the University of Missouri and Harvard Law School, where he started his public service career by taking a year off to work with Jesuit missionaries in Honduras. Thought leaders are committed to service learning. One of his priorities is expanding economic opportunity for all through infrastructure investment, better workforce training, and smart strategies to expand healthcare access while reducing costs to families, businesses, and government. As governor, he strongly supported the creation of the public-private partnership between Virginia Tech and Carilion Clinic to start this medical school, and was committed to the strong bipartisan initiative between the executive branch and the House of Delegates to provide the $59 million in funding for the building we now call the School of Medicine and Research Institute. Tim Kaine was the chair of the Southern Governors Association, and before his election to the Senate in 2012, he was chair of the Democratic National Committee. He is married to Ann Holton, who currently serves as Virginia's Secretary of Education, and they have raised 3 children together. It is my pleasure to invite Senator Kaine to take the podium to give the inaugural graduation address to our charter class.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. It is a real honor to be with you today. It is an honor for many reasons. I'm a huge Roanoke fan. My wife Ann grew up in Roanoke, and her aunt Barbara is here. I think Barbara was a landlord for 4 of the graduating members of this class. I said, Barbara, you have a connection with the class? She goes, oh, I definitely have a connection with this class. But it is also wonderful to be here because I did play a little bit of role in the birth of this institution. And I'm so happy, Dean, that you asked me to come and share some thoughts about the origins of the school with this charter class, and then I'll also offer a few words to these graduates. 40 graduates, 100% matched with residencies, which is very, very tough to do, very, very tough to do. And maybe one of the neatest things about this graduating class is 11 are staying here in Roanoke, and certainly one of the original visions of this program was that it would create physicians to serve Roanoke and Southwest Virginia. So it is a very impressive group of men and women. So my role in the creation of VTC, I was governor from 2006 to 2010. And one day, late in 2006, I was giving a speech on tourism at the Hotel Roanoke. And a friend, Mark Lawrence, who is here, reached out and said, will you have a few minutes to meet with Ed Murphy, the CEO of Carilion, and Charlie Steger, the president of Virginia Tech, after your tourism speech? They have an idea they want to run by you. I said, absolutely. So after the speech, and many of you have been to the Hotel Roanoke, we went to a side room, and they laid out the idea of this project, the Virginia Tech Carilion Research Institute and Medical School. It was intriguing because it combined a medical school with a research institute. It was intriguing because it combined the assets of a top 50 major research university with a dynamic and innovative healthcare system. And it was about Roanoke and the New River Valley, which matters an awful lot to me. And so right from the beginning, the idea was a compelling one. They were introduced quickly, but I would like both Ed Murphy, who is here. Ed now lives in Connecticut and New York. He and his wife are here. But I'd like Ed and Charlie to stand up so you can see them. They were the ones who birthed this idea, and I would like you to give them a big round of applause. Would you guys both stand up? Now, you would think, so it was a good idea, so it must have been easy. Folks, this is politics. This is politics. No, it wasn't easy. They had the idea, and it was in early January of 2007 that the idea was rolled out. This is what we want to do. But building a medical school from scratch and a research institute is not an inexpensive proposition, and it's not an easy one. So how are we going to make this happen? And the request was, could the state be a major participant? Well, why wouldn't that be easy? It makes so much sense. Well, it is easy for wonderful Roanoke area mayors and legislators, and we have mayors, city council members, and legislators here to support something like this. But what about folks from other parts of the state? And so the idea was announced with a lot of fanfare, but we had to figure out how to do it. Coincidentally, at the same time, my cabinet secretary, Marilyn Tavener, who began her medical career as a nurse, grew up down near Martinsville. She was now my cabinet secretary. She now runs Medicaid and Medicare for the United States of America. Marilyn had done a survey of the healthcare workforce needs in Virginia. And that survey, which was completely independent of this proposal, had concluded that we're facing a significant physician shortage in the Commonwealth, as is the case throughout the United States, as well as other health professions like nursing. And so we had a good idea, but now we also had a demonstrated need for the expansion of physician training. We also had two other wonderful factors. The head of the Virginia Commonwealth University School of Medicine came into my office about the same time and said, we'd really like to expand our medical school. And the head of the another medical school in the state, Eastern Virginia Medical School in Norfolk, came in and said, we'd like to expand our medical school. All of those two expansions and this construction all were justified by our workforce study. And so now we started to assemble a package of expansions that would not just be attractive to folks who were Virginia Tech or Roanoke connected, but who would be attracted to the idea of a broader expansion of training physicians all around the Commonwealth. Over the course of 2007, we worked together to build out what became a significant package to expand our colleges and universities, totaling $1.4 billion. Every community college, every college in the Commonwealth was expanded to meet our growing student population at a time when interest rates were low because of the recession, and a time when construction costs were low because of the recession. And we were able to put the package together in a way that every member of the state legislature could look at their community college and say, the institution I care most about is going to be better off when this is done. So now that seems like an easy sell, right? No, it wasn't an easy sell. We introduced our bond package to do this expansion, and VT Carilion and the two other medical school expansions were the pillars of the package. There were numerous dozens of projects, but this was the original pillar that then became connected with the other two medical school expansions. I went to see the chairman of the most relevant committee in my Republican House of Delegates, who will always carry the bond package bill, the chairman of the Appropriations Committee, Lacey Putney. Some of you know Lacey, but for those who don't, he served in the legislature, recently retired, served in the legislature of Virginia for more than 50 years. He is the longest serving member of the oldest legislative body in the world. The Virginia General Assembly has been meeting continuously since 1619. Parliament took a break in England in the 1640s, so we are the oldest continuous operating legislative body in the world in Virginia. And I went to see Lacey with this fantastic package, and I told him, this just sells itself. We have to do this for the state. And Lacey looked at me and said, Governor, I can't support you. I've got some real concerns about this. I'm not going to say no, however. I'm just not yet ready or willing to say yes. And I said to him, and I have the deepest regard for Lacey. We disagree on a lot, but we're friends. And I said, as long as you won't say no, let's work on this together and find a way where you can say yes. And over the course of the next few months, we worked. He had some very legitimate ideas about the ways to make the package better. The project list sort of stayed the same, but how the bonds would be issued and defeased and how the construction would be managed. He had some really important, very important issues. And over the course of the next few months, we worked, got better and better. And in April of 2008, we have one legislator here, John Edwards, member of the Senate. Sam Rasool, I think, is here, member of the House of Delegates, was not in the House at the time. But John, you worked very hard on this. And in April of 2008, we passed the bond package that was responsible for $59 million worth of this medical school. Virginia Tech and Carilion obviously had to put a lot more in and then hire all these wonderful faculty members. A number of months after the bill was passed, we had a groundbreaking at the site of your medical school. And we went to do the groundbreaking, and Lacey Putney was there. And after the groundbreaking, he leaned over to me and said, Governor, I've worked with many governors, and I've been in the legislature now for 50 years, and this is, without a doubt, and there's no close second, the most important thing I've ever been connected with. To me, that was a very sweet moment, and I know it was for him. And to be there at the passage of the bill, to be there at the groundbreaking, and to be here when this first class is completing 4 years of education in this wonderful institution is a sweet moment. Another governor of Virginia, Doug Wilder, has a statement that I always love, and the statement is this: when the thing is right, the time is right. When the thing is right, the time is right. The thing was right. It didn't happen automatically, but it wouldn't have happened if the thing wasn't right, and that's why we're here today. Just a word of advice to the graduates. I have a lot of doctors in my family. My sister-in-law, Taylo, who graduated with Dean Knight from the University of Virginia Medical School, is a medical educator at Syracuse Medical School. Her husband, John, is a hand surgeon. He reconstructs hands after accidents. The doctor I know best is my younger brother, Steve, who's a pediatric cardiologist at Children's Mercy Hospital in Kansas City, where I grew up. And I've gotten to know doctors some and observed them up close. And I want to thank you for going into the profession. I suspect most of you know kind of what you're getting in for, but I doubt you really know what you're getting in for. My brother Steve, of the 3 Kane boys, he's the middle one, I'm the oldest, was the carefree jokester, expert voice mimic. He could mimic any voice, always a twinkle in his eye, always a practical joker, excellent doodler and cartoonist. Of the 3 Kane boys, he was the one with the best sense of humor and the most fun to be around. He still has a twinkle in his eye after practicing medicine for 25 years. But 25 years of dealing with parents who are told that their 2-day-old child has a heart defect, and 25 years of working with parents as he is explaining to them the catheter operation he's going to have to do on this newborn to help repair, hopefully, the heart defect, has fundamentally changed his personality. Now, I say he still has a twinkle in his eye, and I think he's still fun to be around, but objectively, I have to say that my brother Steve, and I've seen the same thing in Talo, and I've seen the same thing in John, compared to the young medical student or pre-medical student they are much less carefree, much more serious, much more sober-minded because of what they've seen. You signed up for a profession to learn certain things, but you have volunteered to take other people's cares on your shoulder, a whole lot of people's cares, and a whole lot of people's cares in the most sort of intimate and challenging thing. You know, I'm a lawyer. I took people's cares on my shoulder, but they were not cares of the kind that you're taking onto your shoulders. And I thank you for that. And again, I suspect that in your work with your patients already, as has been described by the students, you've seen that and started to grasp it. But all of you, I think, are going to see your personalities changing over time. And you're willing to do that, but you're going to be much less carefree. And maybe a lot of you don't think of yourself as particularly carefree, even sitting on this stage. But I can guarantee that you are giving up some part of that in yourself to take others' cares on your shoulders. That's an important thing to thank these people for. It's an important thing for us to think about when we interact with health professionals. Last thing I'll say is this. I hope some of you have read, and I would encourage others of you to read, a wonderful book called The Healing of America by T.R. Reid, R-E-I-D. It's a book about health and health care in the United States and around the world. It was written and published about a year before the Affordable Care Act passed in Congress. And so it really isn't about the current political debates, but it is about health and health care. It is the best one-book summary of the challenges that we face in this country and how we face and tackle them compared with how other countries face and tackle them that I've ever read. And as I work in the public arena as a mayor and governor and now as a senator on healthcare issues, again and again what I come back to is healthcare starts with health. You cannot have a system that provides care to an increasingly unhealthy group of Americans or people generally and like the outcomes you get. You have to always put health first and promote health before you manage disease or manage accidents or manage health conditions. And that's one of the best things that you're going to be able to do with your patients. I don't know how much time you spent in your classes focusing on that. You've learned to be experts at dealing with unhealth, with accidents and injuries and illnesses and grave diagnoses. But one of the best things that we can do, whether we're policymakers or physicians, with our patients, with our constituents, with our families, is to promote health first. And I hope you will do that. And with that, thank you for the honor of being with you today. This is really a wonderful, wonderful treat.
Thank you, Senator Kane, for those inspiring words and for your support through the years in the development of this school. So we've heard from representatives from the student body. We've heard from a faculty representative and from our invited graduation speaker. We're about to celebrate the completion of a 4-year journey for our students. We're also setting the course for the school and its future graduates for years and generations to come. And we're doing so by writing history in this historic place in Roanoke. So, we have come to the point of what you were all here to witness. Dean Johnson, please join me at the podium, and with the class of 2014, please rise.
Dean Johnson, I have the high privilege and great honor to present to you the candidates for the degree Doctor of Medicine from the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine.
Upon the recommendation of the faculty and the concurrence of the Board of Directors of the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine, and by virtue of the authority vested in me, I hereby confer upon each of you the degree of Doctor of Medicine, with all rights, powers, and privileges pertaining thereunto.
Would the doctors please be seated? We call these ceremonies commencement for a reason, for graduation marks the end of one thing and the beginning of another. The 40 people before you are now set to begin their journeys as physicians. And as we send them off, we want to introduce them to you. As each name is called, the members of the class will proceed to the front of the stage, where they will be hooded by several of the deans. The exterior of the hood is green velvet, the traditional color for medicine. The interior of the hood is blue and maroon, representing the colors of Carilion Clinic and Virginia Tech, which taken together are the official colors of the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine. After hooding, each student will proceed to Dean Johnson, where she will present them with their diploma. You may take photographs of the hooding, but we ask that you not impede the view of the official photographer, who will take pictures of the graduates receiving their diplomas. Dean Johnson, I present to you the members of the class of 2014, the first recipients of the degree Doctor of Medicine from the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine. Dr. Manik Singh Alek. Dr. Sarah M. Bahraini. Dr. Robert Murray Brown. Dr. Alice Yi-Chun Chen. Dr. Benjamin Newell Cragen. Dr. Gregory Lewis Davis. Dr. Catherine Marie Dieterer. Dr. Yi Deng. Dr. Andrew Francis Fesco. Dr. Sean Robert Fletcher. Dr. Jonathan William Freezer. Dr. Timothy Richard Gall. Dr. Ashley Wohler Garish. Dr. Elizabeth Mary Glazier. Dr. Thomas Nelson Hawken. Dr. Jeffrey Norris Heimiller. Dr. Jared Matthew Hicks. Dr. Oliver Charles Joseph. Dr. Matthew Tucker Joy. Dr. James Robert Joyner. Dr. Yisrael Katz. Dr. Samuel Ryan Key. Dr. Rebecca Caroline Kirshner. Dr. Matthew Peyton Kona. Dr. Matthew Benjamin Levine. Dr. James William Light. Dr. Mina Lotfi. Dr. Lindsay Nicole McCara. Dr. Reva Shakun Malik. Dr. Annabelle Ruth Mangan. Dr. Shervin Mershahi. Dr. Andrew Benjamin Moore. Dr. Joshua Clayton Nichols. Dr. Nathan Reed Ogden. Dr. Brian Hardy Pitts. Dr. Bradley Harmon Sipe. Dr. Travis Alexander Thompson. Dr. Oleg Yurisev. Dr. Christopher John View. And Dr. Donald Charles Weil. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the class of 2014.
Now I would ask Dr. David Trinkle, VTC SOM Associate Dean for Community and Culture, to come forward. Dr. Trinkle will lead our new graduates and physicians in attendance in the recitation of the Hippocratic Oath.
Good morning. In our profession, it is a custom established more than 2,000 years ago that no one may be admitted to its honors who has not first expressly undertaken its obligations. Now, therefore, I call upon you to take, as we have taken before you, the oath which in its original form bears the name of Hippocrates. Hippocrates was an ancient Greek physician referred to by many as the father of Western medicine. The language in which our predecessors first pronounced this oath is no longer spoken. The very gods whom they called to witness have been discarded, but still, even in this contemporary language, we can find no nobler precepts than the most ancient in which to hand down the traditions of our calling. And now I would ask that all physicians in attendance, including our newest physicians to my left, stand and recite the oath which can be found on the last page of your program. Please stand. I swear to fulfill, to the best of my ability, with support and encouragement of others, covenant. I will respect the hard-won scientific gains of those whose steps I walk, and share such knowledge as mine with those who are to follow. I will apply for the benefit of my patients all measures appropriate, avoiding the twin traps of over-treatment and under-treatment. I will practice the art of medicine as well as science, remembering that warmth, sympathy, and understanding may outweigh the use of scalpel or drug. I will not be ashamed to say I know not, nor will I fail to call on my colleagues when the skills of another are needed. I will remember that I do not act for a patient alone. Rather, I am part of an interprofessional team, all of whom offer their skills to assist with patient care and care. I will respect the privacy of my patients, for their problems are not disclosed to me that the world may know. Most especially must I tread with care in matters of life and death, recognizing this awesome responsibility must be faced with great humility and awareness of my own frailty. I will remember that I do not treat data or disease, but a sick human being whose illness may affect family and economic stability. My responsibility includes these related issues if I am to care adequately for my patient. I will prevent disease wherever I can, for prevention is preferable Thank you. You may be seated.
On behalf of all the physicians here today, I am very proud to formally welcome the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine's class of 2014 into our profession. Will the class please stand one more time and be recognized? Please be seated. Thank you again to all of our guests for coming this morning. Please join us for a reception immediately following at the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine at 2 Riverside Circle. You will find 2 large marquees in front of the school. I hope to see you there. Thank you. Now will the ceremonial party and graduates please stand with me for the recessional.